Welcome back to Coffee with Innovate Finance, a podcast series where we are speaking with experts from the industry on the changing face of financial services and the future of fintech and financial innovation. I am Rashi Pandey. I'm head of membership and growth at Innovate Finance, and I'm very pleased to welcome Hema Gandhi, who is the CEO of LatentBridge. So, LatentBridge is an automation firm with a market leading pay as you go software as a service platform and proprietary automation accelerators that can optimize and scale your digital programs. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Hema.
Delighted to be here, Rashi. Thank you.
Thank you. So, why don't we kick off with you telling us a little bit more about yourself and your background, and how did you come and suddenly start, working in the fintech industry? How did it all happen?
Sure. No, thank you. It's not sudden. It's been many years, but I have taken unconventional paths in my life. I started off with computer science in my undergrad, which was unconventional because not many girls were doing engineering at that point of time, and I took that against my dad's wishes. And then I did my MBA, moved to Singapore. As soon as I started working, was working in derivatives trading with a Chicago-based firm based out of Singapore. Moved to Philippines with them and then to London early 2000. And that's when I also moved into the technology sector. Post MBA, I became a trader, a futures and options trader, a derivatives trader, which again was something that not many women existed in that space. And then moved on to handle the financial services practice in various technology firms. And so eventually it seemed like technology was my calling. I've actually lived and moved in 5 countries in the first 6 years of my working life. So that has been pretty interesting. So talking about how did I get into the fintech industry? So a little bit more about that. I guess I was always working with technology firms and business process services firms, handling their financial services practice. And that's where I found my passion. And obviously the background was there, being a derivatives trader. And as I was working with various organizations, I've actually built up the businesses from scratch. So in some ways, it has been while working for a large corporate, I have moved into a new geography or built up a new practice. And that's something which kind of built up the passion in the fintech over time. Business set up here at LatentBridge. I was working at Wipro, was very passionate about what the industry was taking on from automation standpoint. And I suppose my passion was setting up business. I built and set up a business in 2000. The regret is that I sold that business way too early. And so this time, I'm here for the long run, enjoying and following my passion. My source of strength and inspiration has been my mom, and that's I think she always advised me to never give up and to persist my passion. So here I am.
Yeah, not building businesses, but you have a very international background, I was going to say, from APAC, South Asia to the North Americas. And London, I believe, is home now. So that's beautiful. That's a beautiful journey. So, you mentioned obviously, the fact that LatentBridge happened. So can you please explain what is LatentBridge's, core proposition and what problems are you really trying to solve?
Sure. So let's first look at the industry challenges, Rashi, and the opportunity first. So while many organizations aspire to be efficient and they want to adopt automation, we have only seen about 13% of the enterprises to take on automation of a reasonable scale. Many firms struggle to get a return on investment because of high cost of automation. Then we have a segment of about 50% of the firms who haven't taken on to any sort of automation or not even made their way of working by any which way. And there are a whole host of reasons, but I guess the barriers to entry are quite high. And then we have the third category of firms who are still taking the baby steps, and they are still at the POC or in the initial stages of adopting automation. So here again, making their first project successful or making them successful as they set off to that journey and helping them to scale their digital workers is the key for success in our standpoint. Now, another struggle that I would just want to bring up is that the organizations are usually divided based on the functions and not by processes. And then typically when we talk about the digital transformation, we actually take on process, and the processes tend to flow from one function to another. And so eventually the automation is taken on in silos. And because of this predominant reason, they tend to not see the overall impact of automation, and they miss seeing the big picture. So those are some of the challenges that the industry is facing. And at LatentBridge, we wanted to make automation accessible to enterprises. And how do we do that? We wanted to reduce the barriers to entry so that the organizations can adopt as well as scale automation. We want to make sure that automation becomes a way of work for the businesses, and every employee is able to adopt and imbibe automation for success. So we have built out a few products which reduce the friction across all fronts. We have built in a Navigo tool, which allows to build up a whole pipeline of processes which can be automated, and prioritization of those processes based on return on investment. We have built out a platform which is a fabric for digital businesses, which brings in multiple automation tools and levers, and it's offered on pay-as-you-go basis. And then we have some ready micro SaaS products, which are easy to deploy, and those are industry products that any organization can take on and plug in. I guess the analysts do feel that automation is the new fabric for digital businesses, and you don't need just one automation tool or technology. You need a mix of different tools and technologies, and that's what we have built out in our low-code platform, Albai.
Okay. Like you said, 50% firms, they don't even have these processes in place. That's an astounding number, right? The fact that we're living in a digital age, but I guess it's also about, adoption of new technologies, etc. So, talking about automation, can you talk us through some of the success factors for automation, and especially small and medium businesses?
So small and medium businesses, by nature of their size and not having much resiliency, they need to start right in their automation journey. By the way, only about 2% of the SMB market has done any sort of complex automation. So there is a whole lot of ground to improve. I would want to call out about 3 success factors for this mid-market segment. As I first said, starting right in the automation journey, they need to ensure that they get it right the first time round, and their ability to get the return on investment in the first few months of the program is highly critical. And that would enable them to scale automation as they go along in the journey. The second big factor would be identifying the right processes to automate, and then have the ready pipeline to churn more automated processes. The more they can automate in a short span of time will give them the higher return on investment because of the fixed cost on the technology and tools that they adopt. And then the third piece, an important piece for the SMB market, would be the ability to monitor the performance of the digital workers and their automation program, and then of course be able to utilize their tools fully. So those 3 factors are going to drive the adoption and scale of automation, because you have to understand that the SMBs have a unique challenge. They cannot, they don't have the luxury to go on for a longer runway without seeing the outcomes. And the costs have to be optimized in order for them to be taking on and making that as a culture, a way of work that every employee and every department will take on to adopt.
Amazing. So I was going to say to all the SMEs listening out there, you know who to get in touch with. Uh, and, of course, we cannot not talk about challenges as well, right? So what do you think is the true cost of failed automation? Can you share any insights?
Sure, I guess this is a topic I'm quite passionate about. And as a firm at LatentBridge, we do make sure that the firms get their biggest return on investment from their automation program. And Rashi, as I said, the whole vision of the firm, the purpose of the firm is to enable organizations to actually obviously get the highest ROI and through the optimized costs. And where we find enterprises lacking is not being able to measure the true cost of automation, right? Many firms that we interact with, they do not even know what does it take for the total cost of ownership, which is a big area which they need to address, because if you don't know your true cost of ownership, how would you even address what's the cost of your automation program, right? So in terms of the failed automation, obviously the cost of failed proof of concepts is one area, because I think the firms have to get it right the first time. If the automation program doesn't go successful right at the outset, it does put a burden into a whole sort of other future program from the automation standpoint. The cost of the technical debt, which is the technical tools that they take on, the cost of the change program, because obviously the team which is involved into the whole change program. And then, of course, the employee morale and then the customer experience, all those elements are quite important when you look at any failed automation program and why it needs fixing in a way at the outset.
No, thank you very much for sharing that with us. So, as you mentioned, the solutions at, LatentBridge, the solutions you guys provide, they're applicable to quite a few different, financial verticals. You have said you've built, different products out. So can you share examples of how your work differs between them? For example, between like legal, supply chain management, and capital markets, for example?
Sure. So firstly, we are quite big on financial services, Rashi, and working with investment banks, working with retail and wholesale banks is a big value proposition. We do work with financial services, we do work with legal sector, we work with wealth management firms, insurance firms, and actually one of the key product that we have is the Wealth Advisor platform, which is a front-to-back AI ML built platform where any advisor can take on the entire front end of suitability fact finding to the back end of servicing any customer. It's a fully automated platform for them to be able to leverage. And this is, as we speak, is being deployed across multiple wealth managers as well. We have a contract review for the legal sector, which is again one of the big areas where you would find that the industry investments has gone up significantly. We have quite a unique niche in being able to operate that for the mid-market segment.
Yes.
We are building actually multiple SaaS products. And I call that as micro SaaS products because in my mind, automation doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing solutions, but these micro solutions can be built out very quickly and be able to deploy to multiple customers irrespective of underlying technology that they use. And the other power of these micro SaaS products is also for the SMB segment, right? Because SMBs don't have that much resiliency. They have to get it right the first time round, and they don't have that army of people to deploy and build out solutions. So these ready solutions allow them to be getting something at an optimized cost and be able to take on these products. And most importantly, we offer them on pay-as-you-go basis. So our whole, again, ethos, because we operate across large and mid-market segment, we do believe that the initial setup costs can sometimes be prohibitive for these, at least the SMB segment. And then we want to make sure that they are able to pay for what they consume.
It's wonderful, actually, because I worked at smaller fintechs. I currently work with a lot of, smaller organizations to large organizations. And the fact that you have a pay-as-you-go solution, I can definitely see how helpful it will be, especially for the small and medium businesses, So kudos to you guys. Moving on to, diversity side of things, because that's a very big program that we run at Innovate Finance as well. So I would love to find out, as a female CEO, in a few sentences, what advice would you give to others on a similar journey, and what challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
I mean, we all know, right? There's a lot of work to be done. Only 5% of tech founders are women. There's only 1% of the money that goes from the VC funding goes to women.
Yes.
And so there is definitely a challenge when you're a female founder. I actually, as I said, I left Wipro to start off this business. And I didn't have a co-founder then. I looked for a co-founder because in my head, having a co-founder adds value, of course, and bouncing off your thoughts and dream and vision. But at the same time, I understood that the whole community, the VC community, also prefers to have the co-founders. So I had set off to find a co-founder, and I did manage to find one. Tremendous experience, and worked at a large enterprise, huge amount of experience in automation space. But he left the business much early on, within a year, and due to different passion and different priorities. And this was when we were in the midst of a fundraise. So it was tough to rebuild. I must say that on 2 occasions did feel whether this was worth pursuing. Had to rebuild myself because right at the middle of the fundraise, when you don't have a co-founder, you are a woman founder, I had to push harder, right? But I guess I always get inspiration from my mom, who left this world 12 years back. And her advice has always been that if you're on the right path, don't give up, right? So that whole never give up is something which I kept reminding myself. And as things happened, I think COVID happened, automation was adopted by every enterprise for resilience. It became a kind of a must-have. We all know that digital transformation fast-tracked post-pandemic.
Yeah.
What would have potentially taken a decade happened within 6 months. And so at LatentBridge, we took off as well. And I must say, I gave up the idea of funding. And so just carried on, head down, laser focus, aiming to deliver to our customers. And on its own, the fund that we were talking to back in early 2020, and they had left us, they came and they wanted to invest in us a year after. And so we found a fabulous technology fund, Invotech, who are now our partners.
That is an inspirational journey. And thank you so much for being so honest and candid about it, by the way, because this is something we keep very close to our hearts as well. At Innovate Finance, we're really, really trying our best to ensure that female founders get the due respect and the funding they deserve. So thank you for sharing your story with us.
And I'll just add here, Rashi, that as a woman founder, I have ensured, again, no biases for women. But as it happens, we have about 32% women in the firm. Obviously, picking out the right talent, but I'm quite pleased when we find women in our organization.
I do have to say, I work with your team, and they're absolutely splendid. So that's wonderful. So moving on to, LatentBridge and, the fact that you guys are pretty much based internationally. So do you have, plans to scale further internationally? And can you perhaps share why is the UK market a very big focus for yourselves?
Sure. So UK is our home market, Rashi. I mean, I've spent the last 20 years here. It's been home. So we needed obviously a foundation to be strong and get it right with our customers here. So we focused on the UK market first. Having said that, we do work with global clients, and now that we have established ourselves here in the UK, working with a few global clients, created our own niche in the market segment. We are scaling up and not ignoring US, which is the biggest market. We also know that it's also very competitive. So as we speak, in fact, next month, we are launching and actually attending in a conference and getting our word out in the US market. And so definitely US and the Middle East are the areas of focus for us in the next 6 months. Right.
That's really
we have been actually approached many times for partnerships, and that's another big focus for us to scale up through our partners, which is the shifting gears that we are doing. We didn't do it until now because we wanted to establish our own and have a full control of the organization before we go to partners.
No, of course. That was a good strategic decision, I would say. So, thinking about the fintech sector as a whole, where do you see the industry going over the next few years?
So this is my favorite topic to discuss, but I do try and make it short.
Okay.
So yeah, because I do strongly believe in it, right? We have traditional firms, and then we have the disruptors, right? And I think the fintechs are the disruptors, and there will continue to be tremendous growth for the fintech sector. I have worked with financial institutions in the last 2 decades. I have worked with them. I have worked in them within those organizations. And I do find that there's a lot of work to be, I mean, traditional firms will take time to be, they just cannot be that nimble, right? There are challenges there. And so fintechs can make that change. The good part is that fintechs are they receive the warm welcome from large enterprises. They are
definitely,
they are being, the doors are opened up for fintechs. I talk to multiple clients, spend a lot of time with clients. And every day, I must say that I hear of 3 new firms, right? From the same technology standpoint, you do see a lot of firms that exist. So this disruption will definitely continue to accelerate. Traditional banks are also forced to innovate because they have to compete with the challenger banks and with the new age banks. And we are actually partner to both traditional and challenger banks, right? So then we kind of see that the way they are shifting towards is going to be definitely quite powerful for them. From the trend perspective, the other thing that I just want to highlight here is actually the tailwinds are very strong, right, for this whole industry.
Definitely.
We adopted, if I can talk about more from the automation standpoint in the fintech space, we adopted automation for productivity, for customer experience. Then COVID happened, automation became the norm for resiliency. And then the great resignation happened in the last 2 years that we've seen. And then now, with this potential recession coming up, we would see that the focus will be back on the optimization and productivity. So I guess all good for fintech sector.
Definitely. Well, we're trying to avert the cost of living crisis as well, right? At this point. So before I let you go, Hema, firstly, I've had a wonderful chat with you. So thank you so much. But where next for you and LatentBridge? Any exciting news you can share with us before we close?
Sure, absolutely, Ashish. So I would say the business has been good. Uh, we have grown 4x last year. So what's next
Wow.
for us is our ambition to grow and scale up this business, right? I think that's the first and foremost priority for us. We are profitable, but I would say we have only just started, right? So the coming quarters, the coming year will be all about scaling up. We do have tremendous tailwinds, and that only means that we just go with that laser focus and build up our business. We have actually doubled down on our sales team just in the last quarter, and they're all gearing up for the summer season to finish and then scaling up to taking on to the target segment. So from the perspective of what's next for LatentBridge, I think there are a few areas that we are excited about. First is, of course, the next version of our navigator tool, the assessment tool that I talked about, is going to be released next month. We are actually putting automation in the hands of our customer through our low-code platform, Albai, and that is going to be released by December this year. And I talked about the micro SaaS products, again, more focus on those micro SaaS products, which are industry focused. And then the new geographies that we are getting in, right? So very exciting times for us. And as long as we continue to execute well, keeping our team motivated, obviously making our customers happy, we would continue this momentum. And actually, last but not least, we should be coming up with our Series A round of funding in the next 1 year.
Oh, wow. I was going to say there are so many exciting things coming. Product launches, international scaling, scaling up, funding round. Please keep us posted, Hema. Thank you so much for just speaking with us today and for your time.
No, I enjoyed my conversation with you, Rashi. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Hema. More power to you and to the team at LatentBridge. And thank you once again for tuning into Coffee with Innovate Finance to all our listeners. Do look out for upcoming episodes and follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn for more on our events and programs. And also, if you want to find out more about LatentBridge, please feel free to reach out to the team. And as always, until next time, take very good care of yourselves.